Ah, what a good day for a photo. What kind of camera is that?
Are you okay? Yeah, you took quite the tumble. I was just showing you my new camera.
Okay, so a while back I picked up this camera. It's the Voightlander Bessa 6.6. And I feel like people are typically intimidated by cameras like this, but today we're gonna find out if this camera is easier or harder to use than more modern film options. We're gonna do some simple maintenance, and in good old Tom fashion, we're going to 3D print something to make this camera better. Now, I have no clue if this camera is even gonna work, and if it doesn't, you better bet it's gonna end up on my chopping block. I will take this lens off, I will fab up a mount, and we'll shoot with it anyways. But we're gonna try it the way it was intended. Okay, so I wanna talk a little bit more about what I meant when I said that I think this camera is a little bit easier to use than other more modern counterparts. This right here is my Canon SureShot. It's a great camera, but it needs a motor to open the gate for the lens. It has an auto rewind feature for the film. It has a flash, a viewfinder that could get cloudy. There's a whole menu system that they embedded in the viewfinder as well. The battery terminal could get crustier than your bed sheets in your 20s. So what I'm trying to say here is, yeah, this camera might be easier to use from a day-to-day basis, but this camera is going to be a lot easier to maintain and clean up so that you can use it. Now granted, this is a much older camera, so it doesn't have all these fancy features that newer cameras have, but when you tear this apart, there's very few things to worry about. If you want to tear like a more modern camera apart, this is what you're dealing with. Let's be honest. Do you think that you could fix a camera that looks like this? Because I certainly can. But anyways, under the right conditions, you could literally use this as a point and shoot. Like if you're outside and the sun's shining, you could shoot this at f/16 with a shutter speed of 1/175 all day, which is what I ended up doing. This camera has no glass viewfinder, it has no light seals, it has no battery compartment, it has no film rewind feature. If you want to rewind the film, you just turn this little knob. There's very little to go wrong in a setup like this. And in addition to that, this camera shoots medium format, which is cool. I'm very excited to give this a try. I hope I don't end up eating my words. Okay, so there's a few things that we gotta do to get this thing ripping. We gotta repair the bellows. Then we gotta do a deep cleaning. See these pores? I'm not putting a dirty 100-year-old camera up to my face. Then we gotta repair a broken filter ring that I noticed when I was doing an inspection. And lastly, we gotta 3D print the surprise part so that we can go take some pictures and check them out. Let's get started.
That's weird. You fell asleep again and you woke up in the lows.
So we just grabbed this liquid electrical tape and we're gonna use this to patch the hole in our bellows. We also got this black spray paint because I'm gonna give my camera a new finish. All this shopping made me hungry. Ow, hot, it's hot. It's so fucking hot, ow. What is good? It is a new day. And just for a little bit of context, I'm recording this in the midst of that crazy snowstorm that's currently plaguing the East Coast, but I've broken away to work on this video because I'm trying to deliver here. Okay, here's what you're gonna need if you wanna do this project. First, we have the liquid electrical tape. This will be used to patch the bellows light leaks. Next, we have some JB Weld 2-part epoxy to fix the cracked ring, spray paint, you'll see soon, microfiber cleaning towels, and this light. Let's tackle those bellows. Oh, and I also got something new for the channel. This is the cheapest Harbor Freight bench vise. And the nice thing about this bench vise is that it actually doesn't need to be screwed into your bench. This uses a simple vacuum system, and once it's on there, it's on there. Oh, that was kind of a bad test. Anyways, once it's on there, it's really on there. This is cool. It articulates, has these little rubber grip pads to protect my fragile cameras. At the end of the day, I just love holding my victims down when I plug their eyes out. Okay, now to check for light leaks with this camera, what we're gonna do, open the back and expand our bellows. So cool, love that. Do a visual inspection, but the easiest way to really get this figured out properly, you're gonna take your little light, you're gonna pop it underneath here like this, you're gonna turn off all the lights, and then you can test and see where your light leaks are. Now, I don't know if you can see this very well, but there is a pinhole on the side of my camera here. So that's gonna need to get addressed. Okay, so it looks like I only had one leak, which is pretty awesome. So we're gonna give that a quick visual inspection, find the leak, and address it. Oh God, this applicator is massive. So it comes with a brush, and the brush is huge. So we're not gonna use that. We're gonna use some brushes I had. Now, I went to art school, so I happen to have a lot of brushes. Okay, this is our sacrificial brush. So we're gonna brush this on, try and get this tidied up and go from there. Now, if you're trying to repair bellows on your Voightlander Bessa 6.6 or similar camera, you're gonna wanna do very light layers of this stuff. You're gonna let it dry, and then after it dries, you're going to do that same light test that we did earlier. You don't wanna glob on big, heavy chunks of this stuff. You want very thin, delicate layers. I'm not very good at stuff like that, so we'll see what happens. Man, that stuff stinks. I'm just gonna use tape. Okay, so I've tried like 10 layers of this stuff, and you can still just ever so faintly see just the tiniest of pinholes. And I'll be completely honest with you, if I load some film into this, go out into the ice cold weather and take some pictures, pay to get it developed, and realize that everything is ruined, I'm gonna be more irritated. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna take a little bit of electrical tape, we're gonna put it over that little problem area, and we're going to rest easy, knowing that the camera is going to function properly. Now, if this camera was like a super valuable camera or something like that, then I would advise against it. But I only paid like 40 bucks for this camera. I don't even know if I like it yet. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to lay a little piece of tape out, and I'm just gonna cut this clean off here. We're going to try and get this piece of tape small and kind of discreet so that it doesn't stand out too much, but it's going to be functional. That's the most important part. Okay, so we've fixed the problem. This is definitely gonna be light tight now. It still expands and contracts, and you actually can't really see it all that well, which is a good thing. So next up on the docket, we're going to give this just a quick cleaning, and then we're going to fix this little filter thread and get started on the fun stuff. 3D printing something to make this camera better. And then finally we have the paint job. Totally forgot about the paint job. I'm really excited about that. Nothing looks better than a clean camera. You know, I try to clean all my equipment, and when I go on site, especially with other people that own cameras, they're like, oh my gosh, why is your camera so clean? You know, mine looks disgusting. And I'm thinking in my head, because I clean it in between use, you heathen. And in addition to that, a lot of my camera gear ends up on my YouTube channel. So like, I don't want to show you some disgusting, grimy camera that looks like it was left outside on the streets in Philadelphia. Like, you want your camera gear to look nice. You want to take pride in it. So I am always just giving it a quick cleaning. It's very easy to do. You know, it just makes everything look better. Nice. We got all the grime off of that spot. See that? That's really nice. Let me know in the comments, do you guys clean your camera gear? Because if you don't, you really should. A lot of tape in this build. This is a tape build. All right, so this ring is literally severed off here. So we're gonna try and reattach that.
because we're gonna be using that here very soon.
It's coming out hot. How do I get this to stop coming out? Is this like a single-use setup or something? Or does it go in here? God, this is making a mess. Putting it in there. It doesn't fit. Okay, there we go. Gosh, I got it on my fingers. We're gonna use a toothpick to apply this. You gotta mix this up. It stinks, just like the other crap that I was using. We just want a small amount. Okay, so I'm gonna be designing a lens hood for my camera. From what I read online, these old cameras have minimal coating on the glass, and a lens hood will give you better contrast. Plus, that's kind of my thing, bridging 3D printing with photography. Also, I bought the spray paint for the lens hood just to get that shiny 3D printing sheen a little more matte color. But disclaimer, I did not end up using it simply because I hate spray painting things. So I ended up making 3 different iterations of this lens hood, with this one being my final product. I used more electrical tape, shocker, right? That way the final lens here could fit a little bit more snugly on my mount here. And I gotta say, for the very first time in my life, I used the pi formula to calculate circumference of this. So I took a measurement here, and then I did some math so that I could cut out a piece of tape that was just perfectly the right size so that I didn't have any overlap, which is funny because I've been out of high school for a long time, and my teachers were always telling me that I'd be using the pi formula all the time, and I have yet to, other than the other day. All that's left is taking some pics. I ended up using an inexpensive roll of Kodak Gold 200 and shot almost every photo at 1/175 and f/16, or what they used to call Sunny 16. Back in the 30s and 40s, people didn't use light meters. They had this little conversion thing on the dial here, and I don't really know how it works, but it's got all the different apertures here, as well as, I don't know, just other settings. I'm not sure. If you know how this works, tell us in the comments, because I'm not educated enough to talk on it. Essentially, I treated this camera like a medium format point and shoot, which mostly worked, with an asterisk. Unfortunately, there was one big issue. My cone vignetted like crazy. I don't want to say that the images were ruined, because I could just, scale the images in a little bit. All right, so I'm at my camera store right now, and I'm pretty sure this is wound up nicely. I'm gonna open this back up to take the film in to get developed. So, okay, looks like a success to me. So that roll looks mostly nice and tight. Let's see if we can. Okay, so we got the roll out. Okay, cool. Let's see what it looks like. I cannot wait. I'm very excited. There's 2 issues. 1, you got the vignetting from the cone, and 2, there was a lot of weird dust particles that were probably on the glass somewhere. I imagine it came from opening and closing the bellows every time I went to take a picture. So at the end of the day, what are my thoughts on this? Well, I think the pictures are cool. I'm kind of disappointed that there's all kinds of little micro dust particles all over the photos though. I didn't take the time to clean that up just because there's so many. If there's 3 or 4, boom, 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 I can clone stamp them out, no issue. But there's hundreds on each of the pictures. I think that this thing's just deteriorating. This camera would probably benefit from a brand new set of bellows, which I just don't feel like investing into it. It would cost more than I paid for the camera. The other thing that really troubled me with this experience was remembering whether or not I advanced my film. So on a regular 35mm camera, you advance your film like this, and then you take your shot. Now, if you advance your film, and then let's say you put your camera down and decide you want to take a picture later, you don't have to remember if you advanced it. It won't let you advance that film again. So then you just, boom, you take your shot. In this application, all you have to go off of is the number that shows up on the back of your little exposure window here. All right, so we're about to take our second shot, but we have to advance our film first. So you pull this little window back. Right now it's at the 1. We're gonna turn this until we see a 2. 2. So there you go. Now it says 2. We're gonna close our gate. And now we're ready to take our next shot. It'll tell you which exposure you're on for your camera. So you line it up at that, you take your shot, and then you have to be able to remember whether or not you advanced your film to the next exposure, or if you want to do that before you take your next shot. So it's important to set up like guidelines for yourself, because there's several steps tied to this. That really was challenging. The hood vignetting it is what it is. I don't care. This was a trial. The camera works, it functions mostly. I designed a lens hood and it was too long. So if I decided that I ever wanted to take more pictures with this, I'd just make the lens hood shorter and we'd call it a day. I could even probably cut that one in half and it would probably work perfectly. It is what it is. Do I think that I will take more pictures with this camera? It's unlikely, but it has kind of opened the door for me to try medium format with maybe a more modern option. So if you have any suggestions for medium format cameras that you suggest I try going forward, whether it's a Bronica, a Pentax, maybe one of Fuji's professional cameras like the GW690, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think that I should try, because very soon I'm gonna be in the market for a real medium format camera, because this one is just, it's a fun experience. And if you want to try it and you can get into it for a reasonable price, by all means do it. But it's really not something that I think I'm going to jump at again, just because, mainly because of the dust, to be completely honest with you. But there's another thing we learned. So if you enjoyed this, I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. And because you watched all the way to the end, I want to show you something new that I got. Okay, so I may have been lying. I actually have 2 new things to show you. And we're gonna make it pretty interesting. First and foremost, we have the Canon Snappy LX. I bought this off of Facebook Marketplace, hoping to maybe use it or resell it or something like that. The battery terminal is literally corroded shut. This battery will not come out. So, instead of trying to sell it for parts or repair it, I'm just gonna tear it apart and we're gonna maybe use this lens to create another one of our little cursed lenses like we've done in the past. But we have options. I also have this vintage projector. And if you can see here, the optic here on the end is actually a 20 to 32 millimeter f1.5. So I'm thinking maybe that could be a good candidate to adapt to a mirrorless lens as well. So you got 2 options here. Please comment down below which one you'd like to see, and I will make that video next. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, if you're interested in cameras and adapting weird vintage lenses, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I'm posting new videos every single week. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. All right, that's probably good enough.